few weeks ago, I did a video called The Downsides of Motorcycling, and you seemed to really like it, and I got quite a few comments of suggestions of things that I missed. Some of them were glaringly obvious. I don't know how I missed them. So what does a YouTuber do when a video does really well and you get loads of comments about other suggestions is you make a part 2. So welcome to part 2 of The Downsides of Motorcycling. This is, again, not going to stop bikers from being bikers, but it is also a bit of a reality check, or if you're looking to get into motorcycling, here's some of the things you might want to look out for. Most of the stuff you'll already be aware of, but this is just a space to vent, I guess. Once again, if I miss anything and you've watched part 1, feel free to add a comment in the description, a comment in the comment section. You can't edit the description, I can. Without further ado, let's get into first, you'll obviously notice I'm not on a bike again. Sad times. I know I can't get on a bike until this weekend, but I wanted to make this video, and it's kind of one of those ones where I need not necessarily a script, but points in front of me, because I will go off topic if I'm out on the bike. So now, without further ado, number 1, it is much easier to break speed limits without realizing, even on a little 250 like mine. It can be quite surprising, if you're coming from a car with not a lot of power, like one that I drive, and then you hop on a bike, which in reality doesn't have a lot of power still, like my little 250, but its acceleration is noticeably different. And before you know it, you're creeping over a speed limit, and you're like, oh no, I need to be a law-abiding citizen, as we all are. So that is one of the main things you might be surprised about when you first upgrade, maybe from a 125 to a bigger bike, or even set foot on a bigger bike to start with without any sort of experience being a pillion or anything like that. You'll realise how quickly these bikes can get up to speed, and how easy it is without realising to not look at the speedometer for a few seconds and then realise, oh, that needle's moved. Number 2, it is more effort than driving a car, and quite a few people said this about sort of the faff of getting ready. Yes, your journey might be quicker when you're on a bike compared to a car, but actually if you factor in the amount of time it takes you to get ready, you're probably not saving any time at all. It's all because you want to be on a bike and you want to have a fun journey. So just the fact of getting your gear on, taking all the security off your bike, then getting out the garage, for me that can be quite a lengthy process sometimes, because I will always, without a doubt, forget something. It's always when you've got your helmet on, you've put your gloves on, and then you realise you've missed a key or something and you can't put it in your pocket without taking your gloves off. That's usually what happens. Number 3, if you are not going just from A to B and you're just going for a bit of a ride around, you tend to lose sense of time when you're out, because it's addicting, because you just want to go out and you want to take the scenic route and you want to try a new road that you've never been down before. You want to go down your favourite roads over and over and over again, and suddenly 3-4 hours have passed and you realise you've got a tinted visor on and the sun is setting, which is an awful time of year now when you go out and you realise you've only got an hour of daylight. It can be hilarious how quick time flies and how quickly you go through a tank of fuel. Number 4 is a big one that a lot of people commented on, and it is the fact that security will never be enough. Obviously, it depends on where you live in the UK, but generally I think across the board, you will always have that thought in the back of your mind, is my bike still there? When you open a garage, is it still there? Has it stayed safe overnight? You can add as much security as you want. There's still going to be that paranoia, because it unfortunately does still happen. Even I've heard stories of people being followed by thieves whilst they're out riding. I mean, you just do not get a break from these guys, and they're just absolute, let me watch my French here, horrible individuals who just decide to steal someone else's pride and joy, and usually end up setting fire to it, dumping it, destroying it, something or another. And if they don't sell it, it'll end up being garbage. And it's just heartbreaking sometimes when you see the amount of posts put in Facebook groups and across Instagram stories, I've lost my bike, please make this too hot to handle. It's just not only do you have to worry about security when you're at home, and obviously your bike's in its main storage point, but the second you take it out, even to go shopping, you've then got to think, right, what security do I want to bring with me? Because how far am I going to be out? Is my bike going to be out of eyesight? How likely is it to be stolen? You just don't want to take a chance when you're out. So a nice trip out might turn into paranoia as soon as you're away from your bike, because who knows what will happen? You literally don't know. Right, I've already forgotten what number I'm on. Probably 5. And this one is that there's always something else to do. And this is not necessarily mechanically, you know. If you take care of your bike, yes, you'll have some mechanic stuff to do. But in general, like mine, Noxie just runs. You know, she's had a bit of a tantrum lately when I've changed the suspension and I've changed the grips and I've just a bunch of stuff. But in general, turn bike on, bike runs, huzzah. However, if there's not something mechanically to do, just a general checkup or something needs fixing, maybe a rock hit something and it's smashed a fairing, I don't know, anything like that, you'll also think, what can I change about the bike? Especially for me anyway. Although I'm quite happy with how my bike looks now. Obviously the first few months I had it, I was sort of changing things around. I was adding little bits of vinyl, changing the colours of the wheels, all that kind of stuff, because you just want to change things around because you like this bike and you want to make it yours. And if there's nothing to do mechanically and there's nothing to do aesthetically, then there'll be something to buy accessories wise. Maybe you want to go on a road trip, so you want to find saddlebags or tank bags. Maybe you want to upgrade something, so it's not necessarily a necessity to be mechanically changed, but you just want to change it because it'll be nice. There's always something to do, and it's an endless spiral, and no one will ever get out of it. It's like I was talking about in the last video, one does not simply have one helmet, one does not simply have one bike when you can afford more than one. One does not simply keep their bike as it is. There's always something to do. Right, number 6, if I am still counting properly. It's more dependent on the weather, obviously, and obviously now we're in the end of November, well into winter, unfortunately, and you kind of have to pick your times. If your bike isn't already under blankets and hibernating in the garage, and it is a fun vehicle, it's not a commuter, then you pick your times as to when you go out, and those times get fewer and fewer. I'm already badly missing the summer nights. It's just so... it seems so far away. Before we know it, it'll get warmer and lighter and we'll be back out on bike nights. But, good God, it's not fun when you want to go out for a ride, you got a free day, you look outside, rain, frost, ice, you name it, something's happened. And then even if you are using your bike to commute, the rides become less enjoyable, you know? You might have to take your bike out and you might care for your bike because you go out all winter, but it's not enjoyable to go out in the cold, in the wet, in the dark. You know, it does not compare to riding around country lanes in the peak of summer with just no one around, wind blasting. Oh no, it does not compare. Speaking of that though, not only have you got the problem with the cold and the wet and just the general winter months miserable weather, when you are riding in the winter, you've got to deal with the cold when you're riding, and when you're riding in the summer, you've got to deal with the heat when you're stationary. So you can't win because you're more exposed to the elements. So you get a bit of golden time in spring, summer, and then towards the end of summer and into autumn, but there's always going to be some sort of weather complaint. We're British, alright, so we will complain about the weather. But when you're on a bike, everything depends on it. Number 7, I think. As I said, we're Brits, unless you're watching from over a pond or, you know, further abroad. I don't know. The state of the roads. We'll always complain about the state of the roads because some of them are shocking. And I think that applies to basically every country, and some countries have it worse. But, you know, we'll still complain. Sometimes you want to go down a country lane and just enjoy the scenery, bam, pothole, or bam, bit of gravel, or someone's parked on a blind corner. So just, there's always going to be something, and you can take care of your bike and you can pay your road tax and everything like that, and you'll still go out and there'll be something wrong with the roads that will potentially be quite devastating to your journey if you get caught unaware. And unfortunately, that's just... it can be such a shame when you could have done nothing else, and because of something, you know, maybe a road wasn't kept or something happened and no one reported it, you were left with the consequences of that. Technically point number 8, but also back from the point before that, if that makes sense. Obviously we're talking about the seasons and the weather and the fact that there are less social events in winter, and it can get a bit lonely if you're maybe the only one in your friendship group where you want to go out and ride. Thankfully a lot of people I ride with, I'm still going to convince Katie to go out in the cold. And Olivia's an all-weather rider as well, so I've still got some people to ride with, but it just means that you're not going to go on big rides, or you're not going to go on big bike nights and see loads of other riders, because a lot of the bikes are just hibernating in their garage for a few months, and it can be a bit sad. And finally, for this video, of all the points that I've collected from your previous comments, the process of learning. Obviously this is different depending on the country you're in, but in the UK it can be very expensive to learn, and not even including the price of actually buying a bike and insuring the bike. So I probably will do a video about why less young people are getting into riding, because I think the demographic is still aging. So if you have any thoughts on this, let me know and I can sort of include them in that video. But the process of learning, a lot of people are just going for cars because the bike licensing system can be so complicated when you first look at it. It can put people off, and obviously not only that, but also the cost of it. Although when you take into the account the cost of driving lessons, it might be about the same. But yeah, I think the stepped licenses, the restrictions, the barrier to entry in terms of the cost of lessons, the cost of insurance, it just all adds up to the point where it can be quite unappealing to get started. And if you don't have the urge to go out and ride because you've got hooked on it, if you're yet to have that, it can be easy to go, do you know, I just can't do it right now. And then you wait several years and then life gets in the way, and before you know it, you've never learned how to ride a bike. So there we go. The downsides of motorcycling, part 2. I really hope my next video will be out on the bike. As much of these voiceover videos are probably easier for me to edit, and I hope you still enjoyed it, and I hope you still got some value from this. There's nothing like being out on the bike and chatting to you whilst I'm just potting around on my bike in just random country lanes. If you'd like to support the channel with like a hoodie or a commission, check out the website in the description. Also some discount codes for chin mounts and other affiliate links, just all there for you to have a look at if they are useful to you. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.